Hello, and welcome to the next tour with
Ian?
and Andia. It's nice to see you today. We are here on episode 7, Transition and Life Insurance Planning with Jerry Quinn.
Yeah, so Jerry, welcome. Glad to have you here. And if I could give our audience a very quick introduction. So Jerry has a very unique perspective on military service. He first started off enlisted. He is now an officer holding the rank of colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves. He has been active duty. He has been in the Army National Guard. Of course, as I mentioned, he's been in the Army Reserves as well. So he's kind of got every base covered. And oh, by the way, he's a father of an active duty Marine too. So very, very, very cool perspective in what you bring to bear in what you currently do in your role as the Chief Operating Officer for the American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association. That's a mouthful, so we're just going to say AAFMAA from here on out. And of course, see that below in our show notes when you go to our website to make sure that we get you connected with those experts over there. So, Jerry, one other interesting fact before I turn it over to you to welcome our audience is I understand that your transition out of the uniform is coming up on June 14th of this year, 2025, 40 years to the date when you first began your military journey. That is
Yes,
so awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
So
it is
welcome, Jerry.
very
Good to
exciting.
have you here, my friend.
Oh my gosh, it's great to see the two of you, and thank you for having me on the show. And really look forward to talking about our topic today. Such an important topic for your transitioning friends and our veterans and military as they consider their next steps. So I'm looking forward to that. And yep, it is exciting to be coming up on my retirement date in June. And I don't know what I'm going to do with those extra weekends. For those that are active duty families like yourself, having traveled all over the world and left your family in the United States while you're deployed forward and so on and so forth, I got to do a little bit of that in my career. But being a reserve and National Guardsman primarily during my career certainly offers a unique perspective about the military family that we have become with Marines. Both I have a former Marine as a son-in-law, and then my son is now out of the Marines and going to
Great.
college and navigating his own transition. So exciting times for the entire military family that we have become, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's incredible. And again, thank you so much for the decades of service that you've given and the sacrifices that you continue to give as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
both, for your son and your son-in-law. That's pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
it's an honor to do it, as you know.
For sure, my friend. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, look, life insurance is one of those topics. I've shared with our audience before that I work in military banking. Also, not like a super exciting topic. I feel like life insurance might be in that same realm, like not something that people really want to talk about because obviously life insurance has to do with death, unfortunately. And so, one of those things that we have to deal with that maybe people don't necessarily want to deal with. But I think just as we get started today and questions that we want to ask, really let's break it down. Life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
What is it
Mm-hmm.
for? Who needs it? Why do you need it? Let's just
Yeah.
start with the basics here.
Yeah, yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. Andia, you and I met when I was in banking before coming over to AAFMAA. And of course, we've gotten to know each other over the years. I have long been a finance guy in my civilian world, with more than 30 years of experience in banking, finance, and insurance. And while those are not sexy topics for the average military member, they are really, really important topics. And one of my favorite things to do is to impart any bit of knowledge that I've gained over these years to your audience, to military and veterans, wherever they might be, to be sure that they take care of their financial security and gain financial independence at some point in their life. I truly believe every able-bodied military member and veteran has the ability to gain financial security and independence, but they have to begin. And if you began late, that's okay. There's steps you can take to get caught up. With regard to the life insurance, though, it is a tough conversation to talk about. Sometimes really boring, in fact. And and you already said it. Life insurance is one of those funny oxymorons in the world. Life insurance is about protecting you after you die. But it's even harder to talk about death insurance. So we won't talk about death insurance. We'll talk about life insurance today. And let's do kind of tackle it, break it down, like you say, to its most basic points. Life insurance is a necessary component to everyone's um, financial security blanket, whether you're 30 years old and just had your first child, or you're 50 years old and retiring from the military and on to your next chapter. As you know, when you leave the military, you lose your SGLI. So we'll dive into that, and look forward to exploring all that with you today.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that's excellent. And so we talked a little bit about kind of who needs it. Everybody, right? Because at some point we all will depart this earth. But I would wonder, I'm sure you get a lot of questions in your current line of work. How much does one need? But I think perhaps that's not the right question to ask. I would think that, particularly with this platform, the better question is someone facing transition. What questions should they ask about, the how much aspect of life insurance? Because everybody's transition point and everybody's transition journey is very different.
Yeah, that is for sure true. And each person needs to look at their life insurance needs, just like you look at your investment needs or your financial independence goal, very differently. We all design that differently based on what our lifestyle is going to be, what we imagine ourselves to be, what we feel our full potential is, and what we want to emphasize in our life. So, first, for the audience that is having a hard time already listening to a show about life insurance, general rule of thumb: lots of people will say you need 10 times your annual earnings to provide the life insurance for your family. And now think about that. You got to take it one step further. Your spouse should also be insured for 10 times their earnings as well. So please be sure to take care of both sides of that, in order to maintain that lifestyle, to protect the income and the assets you've accumulated if you were to leave before an untimely for your family. This would create the safety net that your family would need, hence the very specific reason for life insurance. So 10 times your annual income. But now for those that are really interested, right? Those that are still listening, we'll talk in a quiet, no, I won't whisper this, but it is the question you should ask is really, what do I need to protect if something were to happen to me? So we talked about income. We've talked about assets. Oftentimes people will think about education for their children or their grandchildren. Okay, so I've got grandchildren now, and I'm starting to think about, do I want to be sure that there's a safety net there in case I go and their parents have not been able to save for their college education? That's only getting more and more expensive each year.
Yeah, very
true. And then finally, one reason that people keep and maintain life insurance is to establish a legacy for a variety of reasons. Sometimes you want to leave something special to a charity that's been, especially special to your family, or maybe you just want to be sure that there's a nest egg for your children as they're getting started in life, and you want to be sure that's there. So there's 4 or 5 reasons, and you need to put and assign a value to that. What is your income worth? What is it going to take for the surviving spouse to sustain your lifestyle, assets, and then education, and then perhaps a legacy as well.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about all of that is thinking about life insurance. Of course, the flip side is the death part, which we've already established. But I think what's important is that you are taking care of those you're leaving behind, right? And really understanding and unpacking that and understanding what you need. And I think at the time of separation or transition, when you're retiring, I think that there's different considerations at different times, right? You're at different points in your life. If you're separating after one term, 4 or 5 years, let's say, your family makeup is going to look very different, likely, than our family makeup looked like when Ian retired after 23 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, our family's in a very different place than if he had separated after he just served his initial, commitment. And so, thinking about those different things in family planning, what are your suggestions for folks when they're facing those different points in their career?
Yeah, and so there are a lot of times in our military lives that we have very unique circumstances from what our civilian counterparts might experience. So, and that is why SGLI is such a tremendous benefit while we are in service. I mean, it's a very affordable life insurance. It's underwritten by, of course, the DoD, and so our premiums are really reasonable. When you transition out of the military, you no longer get to keep your SGLI. They have come up with the VGLI, which is the Veterans Group Life Insurance. That is a very effective life insurance if you are not healthy when you're getting out of the military. If you are still healthy when you're in the military, you should establish your replacement life insurance before you exit the military. 1 year before, maybe a little bit earlier, that would be a good idea. And so it's really important, because you're in the military, to consider that transition point, whenever that is. Is it your third year in military service, or is it your 23rd year in military service? But at each of those points, you do have different conditions. I did get out after 7 years of active duty, and I was getting married. I didn't have a child yet. I didn't need life insurance. I had nothing, I was going to school. I had virtually no income. I had no assets. I didn't need life insurance. But as soon as I got married, I knew I needed life insurance. As soon as I had a child, I knew I needed more life insurance. Mm-hmm. And I was in the National Guard, so I did have my SGLI still, but I needed additional life insurance. Yeah. And your family, you had grown children at that time. You each are in different stages in your career, and you had very different math that you had to do when you transitioned, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on some really, really excellent points that I'd kind of like to unpack a little bit further. So you talked about, the different needs over time. So first and foremost, how often should someone, evaluate those life insurance needs? Should it be time-based, or should it maybe be, life event or major, kind of turning point sorts of needs? And then further on, are there different products or different, kinds of things that, fall in that life insurance realm that should also be considered as somebody looks at these different, points in their life throughout, how they're evaluating their capability to take care of those that they may untimely leave behind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For anyone in your audience that is a finance nerd like myself, I'll evaluate my life insurance when I evaluate my annual financial goals. So I do that pretty much annually. I make sure that my 401k is doing what it's supposed to be doing. I make sure that if I can save more, I do. And during that time, I take a moment to review what the life insurance is. Not everyone wants to do that, but the critical moments in time to evaluate your life insurance are major life events, marriage, career change, children coming or going, a new home, or a major asset purchase. Maybe you own a business, for instance, and that business is gaining value, and there would need to be a buyout of a partner if something were to happen, so that your family would again be able to sustain the lifestyle that you've created. So major life events, you should always consider, is your life insurance sufficient to provide the protection you expect it to? Remember, I mean, that's really what it's there for, is to provide it protection so that your family can continue to pursue the financial independence and security you intended for them.
Absolutely. And kind of pulling that one thread, you talk about major life events and things, being able to cover and protect those things. Some schools of thought, at some point there becomes the other side of that hill that you may crest, for example, where those needs aren't necessarily as great. Is that something you could kind of unpack a little bit as far as like those major life event, retirement, full retirement,
Right.
maybe one of those where you've got a house that's completely paid off or
Hmm.
whatever. You don't want to continue to sink a ton of money into these things.
Right. Right. So that's when you really get to be able to consider your legacy planning. So let me drill down what when I was younger and I bought a bunch of term insurance when my kids when each my wife and I had professional incomes, we needed to insure that. We had two kids, we didn't know about education expenses, we certainly didn't have a nest egg for that yet. There was a lot of term insurance. I bought term insurance because it's the least expensive and it only lasts for a period of time. Mine happened to last 30 years. I still have that policy, but because it was called level term insurance, there's no way I'm letting it go right now. It's the least expensive, and I am today overinsured, but I'm really okay with that because I'm
Mhm.
paying a very very small amount relative to what my insurance benefit is if something were to happen to me. So I sustain that. In the meantime, I've bought new term insurance to get me out to, that way distant
Yeah.
future. But I've also added a component of whole life insurance that will be there always, no matter what age I become. I might be lucky enough to live to 100 or 105 years old. There'll always be a small amount of money there so that my kids will be able to take care of, just the things that need to be taken care of. All, like you say, all the assets are already paid off. Those
Right.
assets will transfer to the trust and to the children, and therefore that doesn't need to be covered by life insurance anymore.
Right. I think you
Hmm.
brought up a lot of really good points. So that end of life planning is very important. As we've talked about here, life insurance, it's all about end of life. So sorry,
Yeah,
sorry to
that's
break
right.
the news to everyone again, but yes,
Yeah,
that is what it's
yeah.
about. But you brought up a really good point of the idea of having these tiered, right? That at the right place at the right time, spending the right amounts of money to make sure that your family's taken care of. And I think one of the most important things about life insurance and that is that it is immediate, right? It's a lot easier than transferring an estate.
Yeah.
And because most times, even if you have a trust, there's still a lag there.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, God forbid, is going through probate, that takes a very long time and can get
Mm-hmm.
caught up. And life insurance is a very easy way, to
Yeah.
have a small whole policy, like you were saying, that will transfer immediately. I think that's so important for people to consider. And there's a lot of places out there and there's a lot of places to get information. And so I think we want to make sure in our show notes that we're providing folks with good unbiased information that they can get to make sure that they're making good decisions when they're talking to folks, because there's a lot of places that sell life insurance, and there's sometimes people out there potentially that are not necessarily working in the best interest of their
Mm-hmm.
customers. So, buyer beware, pay attention to what your needs are, listen, research, know who the experts are, and also, really dig into what your needs are as a family and kind of understand that going in so you're not taken by surprise
Yeah.
of something that you don't necessarily need, right?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot for bringing that up. This allows us to circle back for a moment and talk about just that financial independence and security that we're talking about. Major life events is when you've got to evaluate, or when you really should evaluate your life insurance and the amount that you have. As you pay off assets and your assets become your own, like a home, and no mortgage, the home is fully owned by you or the family. You don't need to put life insurance. You still have a homeowner's insurance, of course, but not life insurance to protect that asset. You brought up some really important points around financial security and independence. You can have the greatest 401k, but if you've not assigned your beneficiaries properly, you have left a mess for your family.
Mhm.
You could have a really awesome 401k and that most of it will transfer tax free. But you might have come into some substantial wealth. You can transfer some of your wealth through unique life insurance products. And so, something to consider. That is for those that have accumulated very high wealth, very good net worth, and want to figure out tax strategies. That's a little more advanced than this particular visit is about today. But one of the things that should be noted is that life insurance will transfer assets to your beneficiaries tax-free.
Mm-hmm.
And it does transfer immediately. It does not get caught up in probate. Keep your beneficiaries up to date.
Yeah.
If you're transferring, if your beneficiary is your trust, be sure your trust documents are up to date and the family knows who is going to be the trustee. So
Yes.
those are planning things that when you talk about your financial independence and so on, you're thinking about, oh, how much should I put in my TSP or my 401k? Can I save a little bit more over here and do this extra thing? Can I invest in real estate? But also pay attention to the legal work that needs to be done to include, do you need a trust? You may not, and that's okay. As long as you've got a will, be sure that puppy stays up to date.
Yeah.
At your stage in life, for the two of you just transitioning, I think a year or two ago, you probably are analyzing and making sure your will is current and up to date.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably looked at it a few times during that transition period. And now you can park it, probably leave it for a few years before you have to look at it again. For my wife and I, I'll be transitioning soon. We are considering that. We're understanding exactly what the implications are of a medical directive,
Yeah.
of my general power of attorney and my will, essential documents that are a key component, as important, I would say, as life insurance
Mm-hmm.
or your 401k is to your financial independence and security.
Yeah, Jerry, you hit on so many key points right there that I think are worth repeating a few of them. Beneficiary designation and making sure that they're current, because we've all heard the horror stories of, somebody passing while in uniform, for example, right? And they did not update the beneficiary on their SGLI and it goes to an ex-spouse, or they got married and it goes to a parent because they didn't update the spouse, and there's nothing retroactively that can happen with that. It's done. So I think continuing to revisit to make sure the who's who in the zoo is who the member or the owner of the policy or financial instrument, for that matter, is correct. And then you also talked, multiple times, and I really appreciated, how you do your life insurance planning as part of your greater financial health review. Much like you would take a look and go to the doctor for your personal physical health, you should do that with your financial health.
That's a really good way. That's a good metaphor. Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
So, yeah, I think all of those, I'm so glad you brought them up, because I've been wanting to ask them this whole episode on kind of like, when should you look at beneficiaries and when should you do this? And Jerry, this is exactly why we asked you to be on. And thank you so very much for highlighting all of that good stuff. It's a morbid topic to talk about life insurance. It's a necessary topic to talk about life insurance, though, because when we don't continue to have life, those around us continue to do so, and we want to make sure that they don't have a tough time navigating grief, and we kind of give them an ability to carry on.
Adding the financial perspective to it during that period of grief is just so difficult.
Yeah.
If I may just put a plug in for AAFMAA at this time,
Of course, please.
We are a military organization. We were founded in 1879 out of the War Department. The assistant IG, Roger Jones, founded us in 1879. He was our first member to provide insurance to military members, veterans, and their families. And we still hold that premise today. Our Constitution, that's how we're made up, is through a Constitution, calls for us to serve the needs of military veterans and their families exclusively. What that means is the people that sell insurance at AAFMAA, they are not commission based. Selling you a specific product does not enrich them. Selling you the right product is what we attempt to get right each time. Selling you the right amount of insurance, we attempt to get right each time. And the beauty of AAFMAA is we are founded by military, for military. On our board of directors, more than 450 years of military experience. These are people that are committed to making sure that our military and our veterans get exactly the life insurance they need and they deserve at the least expensive cost. We're a nonprofit because we were founded back then by the War Department, and we get to pass those savings on to our members in the form of savings in life insurance premiums.
Absolutely. And I think that goes to what I was saying, right? Find the right people to buy the right things from.
Exactly.
And I think it's great because AAFMAA provides a wealth of resources to their clients as well. And I think it's been really impressive to see and to learn more about AAFMAA. I was not very aware of AAFMAA until just a few years ago, and I've learned a lot, done a lot of research. So thank you for what you and your teammates do there as well.
It's an
are making
honor to serve this way.
Yeah,
you should see our team. We provide these exclusive survivor assistance services as well, where we will reconcile the family's entire life insurance portfolio. If they've got life insurance at other companies, we'll help the families get that life insurance claim submitted and so on. We also help them reconcile their VA and DFAS, Defense Finance and Accounting benefits as well. And we'll even assist them with filling out paperwork to be, for their burial benefits. But that is a survivor assistance team that exists inside my company. And at AAFMAA, if you met any one of them, your heart would just pour out to those individuals who are so committed to taking care of the more than 1,100 people that pass away each year, that we insure, that we protect, and ensure the more than $70 million that we provide in death benefits go to the exact right survivor in the shortest amount of time possible. And then we help them reconcile all those other things, hopefully being kind of a glimmer of light during a very, very tough time for that family.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Jerry. And it just goes to show that, as Andia mentioned, and as you said before, finding that right team that understands the needs, the unique needs, I would say, of our service members and their families, for as short or as long as, the military member served is an important set of characteristics to understand, how that outlook needs to be. We're big fans of AAFMAA. So I encourage everybody to reach out. And I know Jerry has been kind enough to give us his LinkedIn connection. That'll be in our show notes as well. So please reach out, have that conversation. Awesome. Jerry will put you in touch with his experts. And I think, see for yourself, what that, I think burden of being taken off of your psyche will feel like when that part of your financial health has been taken care of. So, kind of I think a good way to kind of maybe get out of the, the tough part of the conversation that we wanted to have with you. And so thank you with that. But, Andy, I think it's at this point, maybe we kind of transition into something that's a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun. What do you think?
All right. I'll do my best. I'm just a finance guy. I'm this old colonel. I don't know. Do we have fun at this age?
We do have fun. Yeah. Here on the next tour, we have fun.
Check your rucksack. I swear a little fun was issued to you.
All right, let's do it.
So for the first part of this, we're going to play a little game we call What's in Your Rucksack? And the idea of this is that, looking back on your 40 years of military service, which is just so awesome.
And you don't look like it. Did you enlist when you were 3?
I know.
Oh, you're awesome. I did not pay extra for that. Nice plug, Ian. You're a good man.
You do. I mean, it is uncanny. So, thinking about your rucksack, right, that you have from military service, what would you take from that rucksack and carry it along with you into civilian life? And then what would you leave behind? What are you gonna leave in that rucksack and not carry it with you?
Good. This is a fun question. It was so throughout my military career, I've transitioned out of the military 5 times with each of my deployments, and that is every transition is challenging, especially for reservists coming back to civilian jobs and stuff like that. But I will tell you, the Army gave me many things, and I hope I gave the Army as much as the Army gave me. I mean, the lists are pretty balanced. I think they got their pound of flesh, and I'm sure. I think it's been a fair symbiotic trade. But what the Army really left me with, and the things that I see infused in my family, my friendships, my business relationships is the commitment, the discipline, the intangibles that the military taught me almost immediately when I arrived. I mean, I did need to get through basic training. It was not easy on me. But by the time I was a young sergeant, I had a pretty good understanding of what it meant to be well prepared, what it meant to properly plan and build your contingency, what it meant to be loyal and committed to an outcome and a mission. I mean, and that was done within the first few years of my military service. And then from there, it's just, it's then an honor to really serve and to be able to project that and to bring that to each team environment you're on in the military. So the discipline, commitment, the intangibles, that's what I want to keep for sure.
Definitely.
I want to tell you that the thing that I want to get rid of, the thing that I'm so, it will be so easy for me to put behind me. The barracks life and the communal living, I don't know. At each grade, I swore that I was going to get my own room downrange. But at each grade, I was a major. I wound up in Korea. Oh, no, sir. Only lieutenant colonels. Oh, damn it.
Just one rank up.
I would say, I would say, well, shucks. Why didn't I thought that the majors had their own room. Nope. Lieutenant colonels. And then literally last time I was in Japan, nope, 06s and above. 06s. I mean,
they keep moving the
goalposts.
I think they did it with whenever I got a promotion order, they just moved the regulation just moved so that we don't need to give.
Jerry got promoted. Move it.
He doesn't need his own room. So the communal living, although in the early years, that communal living established tight bonds of teamwork. Even eating the same food. It might not have been awesome food, but eating the same food, drinking out of the same, boiled coffee pot and so on and so forth. Those were times that brought us together. But today I know new and different ways to bring my team together don't require that kind of challenge. So those are the things that I might keep and might decide to discard from the rucksack.
I love that.
Oh yeah, those are excellent. I love that, Jerry. I love it. Okay, so my turn. So the next game we like to play real quick, we call it 2 Truths and a Lie, military style. So we're going to give you the opportunity to review our previous guests' answers, and you get the opportunity to try to guess and see if you can pick out a lie. So our last guest, Andrea Singsauce, she is the founder and CEO of the Tyne Group, and her 3 answers are: number 1, she does not like going to the beach. Number 2, at one point she was a teacher on a cruise ship. And number 3, she was once a member of a water ski team. Which one is the lie?
No one doesn't like going to the beach.
You got it.
You got it. True story. That was her lie.
That was her lie. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
For not knowing her. Well done.
Definitely. Okay, so
over here. Can't wait to see her on your show, and now I know a little something about her. I'll be excited.
Right.
Definitely, and she's the only person I think that I have ever met that's been on a water ski team. How epic is that?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
and also what she taught on a cruise ship was quilting. So that's cool too. Yeah, she's a cool lady.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
Much cooler than
me. I mean, I probably wouldn't have taken that class on the cruise ship, but I'm glad she had an audience that did.
That's right.
For sure.
She definitely did.
All right. So, Jerry, over to you. We're going to ask you the same thing to provide your 3 answers. And we will reveal on the next episode, just like we did here, what your lie is. So over to you. What are your 3 answers?
So here's what I have to do. I have no poker face. People can read my face like that. So I'm going to read all of mine from a document so that I don't give it away. Because that's what I would do.
So those that are on audio have an advantage here.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Audio only, right? Okay.
So I'll go in chronological order. I attended military police school at Fort McClellan, Alabama. Number 2, I moved my family to Fort Sill for Field Artillery OBC.
Okay.
Number 3, I became an Army finance officer in 2015.
I could absolutely believe every one of those.
I know.
Knowing enough about your career, I know that there are pieces of truth in all of them. We'll just have to guess, and we'll have to reveal on the next episode of the next tour. So,
All right.
yeah, Jerry, thank you so very much. This has really, really been exceptionally insightful and an incredibly important topic to unpack for our members out there. So, again, thank you so very much, my friend.
Thanks a lot for bringing it to the audience. They need to hear this, and I'm thanks for giving us some time to share this. And please be sure that they have every way to contact me. We'd be happy to help them. Even if it's, we don't mind giving free advice. That is part of our mission, part of what you guys are doing, and it's part of what we do at AAFMAA as well. So
absolutely. And again, why we love AAFMAA, why we love you, Jerry. Thank you so very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on the next tour. Thanks again, Jerry.
Thanks. See you later.
The views, opinions, and advice expressed by our guest on the next tour are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast, Andia, or any affiliated organizations. While we strive to provide helpful and accurate information, this podcast is for informational purposes only. We encourage listeners to consult with professionals or conduct their own research before making any significant decisions related to military transition or post-service life. The content is intended as guidance and personal perspective, not as official advice.